and the cosmic, the God concept, and aligning with cosmic laws. We also handle self, soul, and soul personality. Hopefully, therefore, we are all familiar now with the difference between God and the cosmic, the various concepts we have and are entitled to have of God and about God, as well as how to align ourselves with cosmic law in order to be in attunement with God, in whose consciousness we live and move and have our being. Today, we wish to attempt to contemplate the human being as a divine agent and how each and every one of us can, with time and effort, truly qualify as a divine agent. The work of a divine agent can be deduced from the combination of the words divine and agent. A divine agent serves as an active and efficient cause that produces certain effects on behalf of the omnipotent, omniscient, originator, and ruling power of the universe. At first glance, this may appear to be a formidable job that could only be given by appointment to those qualified. However, a deeper understanding of the universal laws of creation will lead us to the realization that this is actually the job description of every human being who is passion-driven in the fulfillment of an identified mission. Any seeming contradiction to this is rather a case of not doing our job well. The true stature of man is suggested in the rhetorical and symbolic question in the book of Psalms of the Holy Bible. What is man that you take notice of him? Or the Son of Man that you pay attention to him? You made him a little less than divine, but you crowned him with glory and honor. You gave him dominion over the work of your hands. You put all things under his feet, unquote. This question was supposedly directed to God by the angels. Divine agency is a quality typically attributed to angels. The word angel in English is derived from the Latin word angelus, which means messenger. Not limited to Christianity or Judaism alone, the concept of angels can be found in many other traditions and religions across the world. There are several variations in the way people conceive of angels. In certain traditions, some of the abstract powers of God are personalized as angels, while in other traditions, they are believed to have evolved from advanced human beings who have overcome the limitations of earthly life. Throughout the Christian Bible, angels are represented as spiritual beings, intermediate between God and men. A quotation from the book of Psalms, chapter 8, verses 4 to 5 says, and I quote, "You have made him, man, a little less than the angels," unquote. In Islam, angels are clearly stated to be messengers of God with no free will. only being able to follow the instructions of God. According to the ancient Jewish tradition known as the Kabbalah, angels are said to reside in the world of formation, Yetzirah, which lies immediately above our material world. It is believed that they come into being in this world to perform particular assignments from God, after which they cease to exist. To the founder of the Baha'i faith, angels are human beings who have consumed with the fire of the love of God all human traits and limitations, and have clothed themselves with angelic attributes, and have become endowed with the attributes of the spiritual. In the teachings of the Theosophical Society, angels are referred to as devas and are said to help nature's processes such as evolution and the growth of plants. Some devas are believed to reside in the planet, while others are said to operate from the sun, having an appearance like colored flames about the size of a human, if seen or perceived through psychic sight. While angels are commonly thought of as divine agents, the idea of man as an agent of God is not very common. The few among us that may be regarded as approaching such an ideal are called prophets, seers, or oracles. In his relationship with the Creator, the average human being typically thinks of himself or herself as either being in the position of receiving or in that of making offerings. God provides blessings, benediction, protection, and prosperity, while man receives from the abundance, offering in return praises, sacrifices, and the maintenance of conduct pleasing to God. Even when we receive assistance, service, or gifts from our fellow human beings, it is typical to thank God in addition to thanking them. We believe that God passed through them to bless us. Those involved serving as channels may not always be fully aware that they are serving in such a capacity. Incidentally, some great benefits have come to some individuals, which started out as an attack from other persons. When this happens, the attack is retrospectively looked upon as a blessing in disguise. We may not, however, necessarily direct thanks to those involved in such attacks despite the eventual outcome. But if we think of them as being part of a greater plan, it will be easier to forgive them for their actions. For instance, for us, those who serve as channels through which benefits are gained by other persons in answer to their prayers are divine agents, even if unconsciously. On some occasions, a person serving as a channel may receive a clear impression urging a particular action to be carried out. Such impressions could be a function of the intuition, which Rosicrucian philosophy defines as the mind of God in man. By following our intuitive impressions, we can consciously act as divine agents. However, we must note that not all inner impressions arise from intuition. Some impressions are merely inner responses to our physical observations. At other times, they could be the reception of other people's thoughts telepathically transferred to us. In order to serve effectively as a divine agent, we must learn how to recognize the still small voice of the intuition or conscience within us. This is not difficult for some persons. However, for many, it requires a subtlety that is quite difficult to master and a long period of training. And it is one thing to receive an intuitive impulse, and quite another to effectively act on it. While in some cases, our intuition may lead us to quick, immediate, simple actions, such as leaving a location before danger strikes, in other cases, it could lead us to a complex series of activities. If, for instance, you are guided inwardly towards venturing into a new line of business, a lot of careful planning will be required for all the necessary activities involved in the business. An elaborate plan that takes a long time to execute, like some months or years, will be frequently referred to and will give a sense of direction over the period of its execution. Purpose could be defined as a sense of direction. A plan, therefore, gives some purpose to life. If intuition is the foundation of the plan, then the plan is actually a divine plan. However, the idea that a divine plan will be worked out in all its details for any individual by God lacks merit, because God will work with us, not for us. We must participate in developing and executing whatever plan the divine has for us. After all, we are meant to be co-creators and co-architects of our own future. In following the intuition, many individuals have carried out activities that have impacted positively on many others, be this at the communal, national, or global levels. In a wonderful example of this, the fortunes of medieval France were turned around by a mere teenage girl born around 1412 named Jeanne d'Arc, or in English, Joan of Arc. She believed that God had chosen her to lead France to victory in its long-running war with England and Burgundy. At the age of 13, Joan began to have profound psychic experiences of directives from God to save France by expelling its enemies and to install the Crown Prince Charles as its rightful king. As part of this divine mission, Joan took a vow of chastity. With no military training, Joan convinced the embattled Crown Prince to allow her to lead a French army to the besieged city of Orleans. Joan promised Charles she would see him crowned king at Reims, the traditional site of French royal investiture. Joan set off for Orleans in March of 1429, dressed in white armor, riding a white horse, and wielding a sword mysteriously discovered behind the church altar. She successfully led several French assaults against the enemy, forcing them into retreat. After the victory, Joan's reputation spread far and wide among the French forces. She and her followers subsequently escorted Charles across enemy territory to Reims, taking towns that resisted by force and enabling his coronation as King Charles VII in July 1429, when she was 17 years of age. Francis Intoros, in a somewhat similar example in medieval Africa, the kingdom of Zazzau witnessed unprecedented growth and prosperity under the reign of Queen Amina from 1549. The kingdom, which was located in the region now known as Kaduna State in the northern central region of Nigeria, had its capital at the modern city of Zaria. Amina was known to be a very fierce warrior at the battlefront. She led her battles from the front, engaging the enemy in direct physical combat. Her military exploits helped to secure an important trading route that passed through the kingdom, making Zazzau the center of trade in the area and expanding the territory it occupied. The neighboring lands of Katsina and Kano were forced to pay levies to her. She also made incursions into the lands of Bauchi until she reached the Atlantic Ocean to the south and west. In all probability, from early in her life, she had an inner impulse of what she was to accomplish. As a child, her grandmother once caught her holding a dagger exactly as a warrior would. This shocked her because Amina was too young to know what the dagger was used for, yet she held the dagger handle in the technical grip used in combat. As an adult, she chose not to marry in order to maintain her personal power. For the people of her kingdom who enjoyed greater prosperity and security during her reign, she was undoubtedly a divine agent. Sometimes, Francis of Soros, a single act by a God-sent individual at a propitious moment could change the fortunes of a nation. And this was precisely the case when the dreaded disease of Ebola found its way into Nigeria. It is on record and has been widely acknowledged that the swift and accurate diagnosis of the index patient by Dr. Stella Ameyo Adadevoh and her firm decision to hold him in the hospital against his will contributed to the early containment of the disease. Nigeria had never had an Ebola case before, so it was an impressive piece of diagnostic work that was a testament to her competence, dedication to duty, and powerful intuition. From the devastating losses that Ebola caused to the lives and economy of some other West African countries, it was clear that Nigeria was indeed very fortunate to have escaped a similar fate. Dr. Adadevoh, who paid the ultimate sacrifice by putting herself at risk for her country, is acknowledged to have been God sent by Nigerians and has been widely accorded heroine status by them. Francis and Soros, examples of divine agency do not have to be as dramatic as the cases I have just highlighted. They abound in the common mundane activities of our everyday lives. The ability of a person to elicit a sincere and heartfelt thank you from another is evidence of a service rendered that attests to our unity of being and our status as potential divine agents. Through deep contemplation over the mysteries of life, man can arrive at some intellectual comprehension or appreciation of the divine plan for humanity or the universe, or even the whole of creation. If our individual efforts or activities are in sync with the overall divine plan, then we're indeed serving a greater purpose. In fact, we will be serving the greatest purpose. Man has, from time immemorial, pondered over the purpose of existence or creation. From his meditations, a wide variety of mythological accounts of creation and divine plans have been developed in the various traditions and religions of the world. However, some common themes cut across many traditions, and these themes reveal some of the fundamental principles underlying our existence. There is a widespread concept that creation takes place as a result of a separation or differentiation, which relates to the breaking up of a state of unity into parts. This is a common theme. Separation and differentiation will obviously suggest a divine plan that will eventually bring about a reuniting or reunion. In such a case, man could become a divine agent simply by participating consciously in any process that leads to a reunion of the separated elements of our being at an individual or collective level. For example, the reunion of the separate races of man into one human race. Another common theme of creation relates to the imperfections of the human society. Many cosmogonies state that the Creator set out to make a perfect world, but ended up with imperfections due to an unfortunate intervention from man or other beings. This theme of imperfection intimates that there will be a divine plan to restore perfection. Therefore, every effort that man makes towards the perceived perfection of God makes him an active part or participator of the plan for the overall welfare of humanity. The idea of dualism or conflict between two opposing forces is also present in many creation stories and is typically portrayed as a fight between good and evil. The conflict of opposing forces underlying creation suggests a need for reconciliation. Man can participate in the divine plan of reconciliation by being involved in the careful resolution of those matters that produce polarization in his society. Brothers and sisters, the process of creation is also often associated with some form of sacrifice, in that a great loss is believed to have been voluntarily suffered for creation to blossom forth, since every gain must be balanced against a loss. This idea is embedded in many traditions. With regard to serving a higher cause, the need for sacrifice is easy for man to relate to. In divine agency, man must be ready to sacrifice when necessary for the greater good. From the foregoing, it can be inferred that man can bring himself into harmony with divine will and action by applying the profound principles embedded in the mythologies of creation found in traditions and religions across the world. As a divine agent, man experiences an expansion of self, and everything is seen from the wider perspective of the overall good. He collaborates with all the forces of the universe and becomes a veritable power for good. At this level, his accomplishments are of a magnitude and quality that elicits feelings of awe and admiration from the world. And in this process, God is glorified. This concurs with the inspiring admonition to all men and women given in the book of Matthew in the Christian Holy Bible, which says, and I quote, "You are the light of the world. A city located on a hill can be hidden. People don't light a lamp and put it under a bushel, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before people in such a way that they will see your good actions and glorify your Father in heaven." So much it be. Francis and Soros, I'll be turning all of us over now to the moderator for a session of comments, question and answers. And we will be closing later on with an attunement with the Celestial Sanctum based on the theme of today's presentation, that is becoming a divine agent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our most worthy Grand Administrator, for this beautiful session. Distinguished fratres and sorors, we have heard our most worthy Grand Administrator address us, or he has spoken to us on human or man as a divine agent. And then he stated, as a divine agent, Man experiences an expansion of self. Also remember, according to the Christian Holy Bible, you are the light of the world. Also, God will work with us and not for us. So on this note, we are open to questions and comments. Like I said earlier, if you need to ask a question, kindly utilize the raise your hand feature on your screen, or you can type the question in the Q&A area. If you need to leave a comment for us, kindly do that in the chat area. I'm also the Grand Administrator. Our first question is from Yaya Babatunde, and he's asking, how do we explain this prayer? God of my heart, please do for me what I can't do myself, and support me to do what I can do myself.
Is that the question?
Yes, please.
I think it is a very sincere prayer in which a human being, whoever is saying such a prayer, acknowledges that he or she has limitations and wants divine empowerment to overcome such limitations and accomplish more for himself and humanity. Next question.
Pending, so I believe our attendees are still trying to wrap their heads around the whole lecture or the whole session. So we'll be waiting for their questions. But if you would want to say one or two things, you can go ahead. Although a question just dropped from Tonye Wolubom. Is man the only agent of God, since there are other creations of God?
No. The various beings emanating from the divine consciousness are agents in varying degrees of activity, assignment, mission, or intensity. And this presentation aims at letting us know, in case we do not know, that we too, as human beings, are agents and can be agents of God. We need to realize that, we need to have that awareness and work assiduously towards expressing or manifesting it. Next question.
There is no pending question at the moment.
Thank you. On that note, let us please sit relaxed and remember that within each of us is a quiet, serene center. Let us, as we breathe in slowly and exhale slowly, endeavor to begin to calm our nerves, our muscles, from toes and feet, right through our legs, along the spine, our internal organs, to try to establish by our breathing equipoise, balance, and harmony. As we do this, let us remind ourselves of the quiet, serene center within us. This center portrays at all times the potential to express our spirituality. It is our soul center where we commune with the God of our hearts, the God of our realization. It is said that the kingdom of God or the kingdom of heaven is within us. When we use this expression, God of our hearts, God of our realization, God of our deepest understanding, God of all creation, it is by this center that we are linked spiritually through our inherent divinity. It is important that we go there every day to seek renewal and guidance, to find strength and serenity, to meet, conquer, and overcome life's challenges, and to move up the ladder of spiritual experience and maturity on which we ascend slowly but surely. And now let us feel ourselves in this center, cool, calm, and composed. And with the first deep breath, let us acknowledge the light of God within us. And so that when we are ready to exhale, our entire beings and our auras are charged with the brilliance of divine light. With the second deep breath, let us acknowledge the vital life force, the breath of life, the breath of God. And so that when we are ready to exhale, our entire beings and our auras become charged with the vitality of divine life. Finally, with the third deep breath, let us acknowledge the love of God, which we may never really know. And so that when we are ready to exhale, our entire beings and our auras become charged with the sublimity of divine love. Thus imbued and infused with the light, life, and love of divine effulgence, let us unite in invocation. May the divine essence of the cosmic infuse our beings and cleanse us from all impurities of mind and body, that we may enter the celestial sanctum and attune in pureness and worthiness. So mote it be. And now, let us visualize ourselves in a spherical ball of this light, life, and love. And raise our consciousness to a point slightly above the head. From there, let us permit our consciousness to rise with effortless ease above the building where we are, above the village, town, hamlet, city, above the country, higher and higher, over, above, and beyond the clouds. Far beyond the clouds through space, through our solar system, through constellation of galaxies, to where we feel serenity deep within us and around us. Away from the madding crowd of humans. Within and around us, the beauty of the spheres. As we find ourselves in that environment we can call the celestial sanctum within and around us, a completely spiritual environment. Remaining calm, let us begin to ask ourselves, what is my mission? And if we already know it, what more can I do and should be doing in fulfillment of my mission? Through my productive means of livelihood. How can I be of optimum service to others in the fulfillment of my personal mission and of my cosmic mission? Hold these thoughts profoundly. And at the peak of achievement, affirm to yourself, I am a divine agent. I am a divine agent. I am a divine agent. And be receptive to an answer from the Master within, the consciousness of the divinity of God within you, so that in this receptive process, you allow a flow of universal energy, reassuring you of continued divine empowerment in your life. Sink into a period of meditation for a few moments, and I will be closing that session with prayer. God of our hearts, God of our realization, in whose consciousness we live and move and have our being. We acknowledge your light, life, and love within us and around us. Grant us what it takes to be worthy agents of your divinity here on earth. Harmonize and enrich our hearts and minds with your divine love and goodness. And let our acts of service to our fellow human beings ever be to your glory, the good of all, and the evolution of our soul personalities. So much it be. And now, brothers and sorrows, let us gradually return through the same route we ascended, through space, constellation, through the clouds, back to our various continents, countries, cities, towns, to the building we are, and eventually to our physical bodies, the temple of the soul, where we reside. May the grace of God sanctify our individual and collective attunement with the celestial centrum. So much it be. And let us now become aware of a full, objective, and mundane environment. I'll be turning you over to the moderator. Just before that, you can see at my background that tomorrow and next, April 2 and April 3, the Librarians Association will be having their Zoom seminar. I will leave the rest to the moderator, and I can actually take one or two more questions so that this session ends on within 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our most worthy Grand Administrator. So before we take the questions, let me just continue with the Librarians Association National Conference. As you already know, the LBA, or the Librarians Association, is the Rosicrucian Youth Wing here in the English West Africa Administration. And the association commences its national conference tomorrow, April 2nd, on this platform at 11 a.m. prompt. The theme this year is Thriving in the New Normal, the Rosicrucian Perspective. The highlights are employment and entrepreneurship in the new normal, strategies for successful virtual interviews, building the skills, not credentials, safeguarding our mental health, economic survival in post-pandemic era, e-learning and working from home. Then we have the overall body exercise, and of course, the GS Forum with the topic, Mystical Life and Peace Profound. Kindly keep a date with us, kindly keep a date with the Librarians Association from tomorrow, 11 a.m. So we are back to you, our most worthy Grand Administrator. We have about 5 questions waiting. The first one is from Ben Carlo. I have often wondered, is there a fixed number of angels, or could they also be evolving states of consciousness?
I can tell you that apart from human beings, there are lower beings. Relatively, these are just words. This whole business of lower and higher, good and better, are not typical of our terminologies, but we can say simply that there are other beings. We know on Earth that we have animals. We know that besides and below the human kingdom, you have the animal kingdom, you also have the vegetable kingdom, you also the plant kingdom, you also have the mineral kingdom, and so forth. Now, there are other levels, higher and different from where we are. And there is also the hierarchy, the celestial hierarchy, where you have angels and archangels and so on and so forth. So by traditional classifications in various schools of thought and religions. And therefore, at whatever level we belong, we must realize at some point in time that we are agents of divinity and should exercise this awareness in the manner we live our lives, so that at any level of reckoning, we'll be satisfied that we have played a certain useful role in the entire universe. Thank you. The next question.
Okay. How do we recognize a true intuition arising from within?
Okay, in the study program of the Rosicrucian Order Amok, we have several mystical exercises. We have several experiments. The purpose of these experiments and exercises is to awaken our various psychic levels of perception, so that instead of living subnormal lives, we live a normal life in which there is a balance in the development of our physical body and our mental, emotional, and psychic aspects of being. So from these experiments and exercises, we can awaken our psychic centers, develop intuition, raise it to a higher level of expression or functioning, and justify our existence, not just as physical beings, but essentially as spiritual beings in a physical body. Next question.
Okay, the next question is, in the word God, an invention of Germany in the 5th century, and the African Hebrew know the truth. Okay, let me take it again. Is the word God an invention of Germany in the 5th century, and the African Hebrew know the true name of God?
Okay, this question is a little bit warped up. God is English language. There's no doubt about that. And in the language of the questionnaire, there will be another equivalent for that word. In my own language, for instance, which is Isoko, it is Ogene. And you have it in various Nigerian languages, which are, by the way, over 200 or so, apart from the main ones. And therefore, there is this equivalent, the equivalent of the word God in German, French, Italian, or similar other languages. And this word is an equivalent of what is known also as Almighty, Supreme Being, Universal Consciousness, Divine Mind, or the equivalent in any language or religion. Whatever you perceive as the ultimate, highest, that is all-powerful, all-knowing, ever-present or ubiquitous, will, by this thinking, correspond to God or the equivalent in your own language. Next question.
Okay, I'll be merging this into one. The first one is, will George Floyd, the man who was killed last year in America, qualify as a divine agent? Okay. Then the second one is man aware of this divine role? Because some men are acting as devil agents.
Thank you for bringing that aspect in. It is humorous, but actually true. If God Almighty is all goodness, all powerful, all knowing, present everywhere at the same time, always geared in the direction of goodness, why should human beings made in the image and likeness of God, or who claim to so be, or according to the holy gospel and scriptures of all religions, should be so, why is the human being otherwise? It is because not all of us are ordinarily aware of the divinity within us by the way we live our lives. And therefore, it is important that we continue with all these types of seminars, webinars, propagating the spiritual aspect of our lives, as is done by the various religions of the world, which eventually, of course, are one. And as the Rosicrucian Order AMOC, though it of and by itself is not a religion, but has persons from various religious groups and affiliations, we, as an educational, cultural, philosophical, mystical movement, organization, endeavor to raise the group consciousness of fellow human beings to a point where this awareness will be so obvious that we all see ourselves individually and at the level of the collectivity playing the role of or agency of the divine within and around us. We must continue to do this, and as we do it, we also affirm what is known in various religions, including Christianity, waiting for that era when the world shall be filled with the glory of God as the waters cover the sea. I want to thank each and every one of you for participating. It's now exactly 1 hour from the time we started, and I like it very much that many of us, as members of the Rosicrucian Order AMOC, who have a significance attached to Thursday, are able to do their various Thursday activities. And for those who have the Christian faith, this being Eastertide, we extend the best compliments of Eastertide and its significance and symbolism. And from a spiritual point of view, generically, that during this period in our reflections, as indeed every other day when the sun rises, that we applaud the significance, the fact that so long as there is life, there is hope. And if we have faith as big as a mustard seed, we can move mountains. And that love is the greatest principle we know of. And no greater love than this can there be, that a man should lay down his life that others might live. And that the message of the season is so spiritually significant and powerful from the mystical point of view, that we have the capacity to go through crucifixion, through test, trial, temptation, and tribulation. These 4 T's, and that with continued attunement with the cosmic consciousness of God, we can bring about the 5th T, which is the triumph over the tests, trials, temptations, and tribulations of our mortal existence. That triumph facilitates resurrection. And may each and all of us throughout the face of the earth, in the reflections upon this season, affirm that definitely the global pandemic that has ravaged the entire world for over a year now and led to the death of several persons, closure of several forms of livelihood, that we too, individually and collectively, resurrect from the era of the pandemic and find a new life, a blend of the best of the old normal with the best of the new normal, so that at the end of the day, the self-mastery we have acquired, which progresses into the mastery of life, may find each and all of us on the planet as human beings in a better position. A world that corresponds to the Rosicrucian ideals and focus on personal and global health, personal and global happiness, personal and global happiness, harmony, personal and global well-being, and over, above, and beyond this, personal and global peace profound. So much it be. We look forward to seeing those of you who have the link and can participate with the light bearers for tomorrow and this weekend. The activities with a central theme of thriving in a new normal, the Rosicrucian perspective. There are very many topical issues going to be discussed, and it is going to be my honor and pleasure to learn from those who will facilitate this program, as well as add my little light to that of all of you. God be with you and bless you with peace profound. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amos Wadi Grand Administrator. So we have come to the end of this. But before we go, I would quickly respond to 2 questions on how to participate in the LBA Zoom conference and how the young ones can join the Light Zoom seminar tomorrow. Kindly refer to the chat area. The link for registration has been pasted there, although before now it has also been disseminated to the affiliated bodies via the LBA platform and through the secretariat at the affiliated bodies. So the program is open to everybody, adult members, light bearers, junior order members, as long as you can benefit. Also, at the affiliated bodies, we'll be having clusters. So if these young ones are unable to access data to join us, they can as well visit the affiliated bodies in their location. Like here in Calabar, there will be a cluster at Apollonius Lodge, and I trust the same thing is going on or is going to go on at various locations. So we look forward to seeing all of us tomorrow at 11 o'clock. On this note, thank you very much and have a good night.